Welcome back, high school football fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for the first high school football edition of 2026. As the season gets underway on Friday, I am joined by Elwood call leader and Tipton Tribune sports editor Michelle Garmon here at Stage 22, and I'm joined on Riverside by Grant Shouse, our IU guy. And Grant, you calling games again this year?
Oh, yeah. They got Eastern at Oak Hill week 1 coming up on Friday. So
hey, Grant, that sounds like a great season opener.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of been tradition for me. I've done it. This is my 5th year doing the game, going to Oak Hill. I always grew up going to that game because it's always the first game. So this one kind of hits home for me. I'm looking forward to Friday night out there at Oak Hill.
Good.
That's one of the very good ones. Little different format this year with what we're doing. What we're going to do every week is we have 12 teams that we cover in particular, and we're going to talk about those 12 teams every week, including the entire CIC. And we're going to do 20 games every week, so however we have left over, we're going to pick the best games from Central Indiana, no matter where it is in Central Indiana. So we'll have more knowledge of the ones that we do first, but the ones that come last, for example, our Central Indiana game of the week is just an incredible game with Brownsburg at Lawrence North. Could be the best two teams in the state right off the bat, guys.
Hey, I know, and that game is going to be televised. I saw the ad for it last night watching the Reds game with my mother, and I said, "Oh, Mom," I said, "you could watch the two best receivers in the state, one on each team, and they're both headed to IU the following fall." So I said, gives you a good chance to see.
And maybe the best running back in the state as well. So we will get to that game. Oh, possibly the best quarterback in the state, and Oscar Fry as well. So,
yes.
And we will get to that one in the second segment. First, we're going to start with all the CIC teams, the Tipton County teams. Lapel and Hamilton Heights are 12 teams that we consider our main core of teams. Then we'll talk about the best games from across Central Indiana.
Sounds good.
20 games every week. We will keep track. We will get Kevin Helfrich's picks as well, and we'll keep track of his, and he will join us from time to time. Hopefully, he'll have time to do that, but he is the defending champion in our picks competition, but I'm winning it this year, guys. So here we go. We're going to start with our local game of the week, and that's the one that we're most interested in here at Stage 22. It's Michelle's Tipton Blue Devils, Greg's Frankton Eagles going head-to-head. 7 o'clock at Tipton Stadium. Last year, Tipton was 6-5, Frankton 2-9. Rough season for the Eagles. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think Tipton is going to be a lot better than 6-5. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Last year, Tipton 41-12. As Michelle and I did a podcast earlier this week, the history of the Tipton-Frankton series. Tipton leads all time 6-1. Sagarin has Tipton by 20, but as we know in week 1, Sagarin doesn't mean anything. Guys, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you off the bat, I'm taking Tipton. All right, Grant.
I mean, I'm going to back you up here. I'm going to take Tipton as well. They seem to have been kind of a consistent program year in and year out with Coach Toll. And I see them getting it done. Frankton's a team here that in the last few years is the kind of struggle. They've had ups and downs, but I like Tipton at home on Friday night. I'll pick them.
Michelle, tell us about the Blue Devils and Eagles a little bit before you make your pick.
Well, Tipton is offensively, they return a lot. Other than, I guess, the offensive line, they only returned 2 of the 5 starters from last year. They are led by Quinn Toll, who's a junior and is going to start his 3rd season behind center, and he's pretty good. And he's got
Aaron, a kid named Garmon.
Yeah, he's got a kid named Garmon, Dakota Garmon. He's got those Garmon fast genes. By the way, he would be considered my distant cousin, but if any of his older relatives know anything, they know the Garmon brothers, R.C. and Jim. Jim, my dad. R.C., of course, my uncle. They were pretty good and pretty fast. Dakota is that. Aaron is very high on Dakota. You had players to watch. I wanted to mention Zane Durham. He's also had a great summer. He'll step into the running back. He's good size. He's 6'2". He can also he's really good with his hands catching the ball out of the backfield. They're moving him from outside to inside. So he's going to be, Garmon's returning at safety. They're moving Durham's, but I want to mention him because I think we'll hear his name a lot
All right, and tell me a little bit about the Frankton Eagles.
The Frankton Eagles, of course, they got Trey Bennett, tight end, 6'6", 210. Everybody knows what he does on the basketball court. He's pretty impressive on the football field, too. He also plays some defensive end, or at least he did last year. I haven't talked to Marty yet, so I don't know exactly what he's got. Jackson Spalding, he had a young freshman quarterback last year. He'll be a sophomore. He'll be better. I mean, Marty had to play a lot of young kids last year because of they graduated their best defensive players from the year before, and then they had injuries. So his kids got a lot of experience. The interesting thing about this season opener is both coaches really don't know much about each other because both of them had their scrimmages. Mother Nature won last weekend, and neither one got to have their scrimmage. So kind of unknown is going to be, I think that kind of actually makes the game a little more intriguing.
So you're taking Frankton, right?
Oh, no.
All right.
Blue Devils, and I think Carroll's 20 points may be a little under. I
think it's about right. I like Marty, and I think he'll do a really good job.
He will. I think it's 4 scores. I just think Tipton's passing attack is going to be so hard to stop.
All right, the other game that was considered for game of the week is Hamilton Heights at Lapel. A lot of hype around Hamilton Heights this year. Should be a really good team, improved from last year's 4-6. Lapel, of course, was 13-1 last year, but they lost an all-state quarterback and a lot of talent. Should be very good again this year. I think this looks like it's going to be a very good game. 7 o'clock at the Boneyard. Again, Sagarin doesn't mean much, but the Sagarin says Lapel, Grant.
I kind of agree with the Sagarin here. I'm going to take Lapel. They come in preseason ranked number 2 in 2A. They're kind of a well-oiled machine again. Similar like what I just said with Tipton a moment ago is that, they've been a solid program over the last few years. They were supposed to scrimmage Eastbrook last week, and that one ended up getting rained out, and they didn't end up playing. It'd be kind of interesting to see if they'll be able to, come out strong. I know maybe you might be a little rusty. You've been hitting your own guys for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, so you're just looking forward to seeing another jersey lined up on the other side.
I started my day Tuesday at Hamilton Heights to watch Elwood at Hamilton Heights tennis for a little bit, and then I went back to Tipton to cover more stuff. But I got to see Heights practice a little bit because their tennis courts are right there by their football field. Caleb had the music pumping. They have a lot of kids out. I'll tell you what, I like Caleb Small a lot. I think he's done really good things. I think they got their scrimmage in last week. I'm not real sure yet. Hamilton Heights does have a running back named A.J. Flanagan, who transferred from Elwood before last season. So I might give Lapel a slight edge because they're playing at home. I think this is a game that maybe a home field can make a difference, although I do know how good a coach Caleb Small is. We've talked to him, what he did at Kokomo, having to replace, and he had them playing so well that by the end of the year, what he did at Northwestern in that 1 year. Heights has got a good football tradition too. One thing is I expect them to pass more maybe than what they have done in the past and spread it around a little bit more to different guys. I guess then I'll take Lapel, but it's going to be maybe by a point or two. And I won't be surprised if Heights wins that game.
I think it's a toss-up, and I'm taking Hamilton Heights. I like Caleb Small. Even when Lapel has really good teams and Hamilton Heights ends up 5-5, it's always a good game. Give me Hamilton Heights to win that. And now we go to the other one that could have been seriously considered for game of the week, and that's Eastern at Oak Hill. The game that Grant is going to be calling, and should be a really good one. The games have been really good the last couple of years. Eastern 26-22 last year in the season opener. 7 o'clock at Oak Hill. Eastern coming off a 10-2 season and a sectional championship the year before. Coach Edwards really has them going there. Again, the Sagarin has Eastern winning this. Again, I don't think in the first week that Sagarin means anything. But Grant, tell us a little bit about these teams as you prep for this week, and who are you taking?
This is really tough. I think it's a coin flip. Just because your expectations aren't really up to date, I guess, just because it's so early in the year. Obviously, I saw Oak Hill in their scrimmage last week against Delta. I was impressed. I'm not so sure if they'll be 100% healthy. I mean, same with both teams. You don't know if they'll be 100% healthy. You could say that for every game here. But this is the 29th straight season these two teams have opened the year with each other, going all the way back to 1997. August
Amazing.
22nd, 1997 was the first meeting and to open the season with these two teams. Last year, you mentioned it, Eastern won in the last minute on a game-winning touchdown. Caleb Hurt scored the game-winning touchdown. When I look here at Eastern, I look at their dual-threat quarterback, Gibson Eagle. Last year threw for 2,261 yards, 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, over 4,000 yards in his career. And if he has a good game Friday, we'll get over the 5,000 career yard mark in his career. And he was also the team's leading rusher last year, 465 yards on the ground. And he returns his top target. Bentley Hollinger is back. He last year caught 45 passes for 1,032 yards, 18 touchdowns, 23 yards per catch, 86 yards a game. They're kind of a good 1-2 punch duo. For Oak Hill, obviously, Jet Ott, 3-year starter as the quarterback. He's gone in his career 1,382 yards through the year, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. This is an Oak Hill team that, on the contrary to Eastern, is not going to pass the ball a whole lot. They'll keep it on the ground for the most part. They'll belly it up, and it starts with their running back, Dylan Archer, 4-year starter. Dylan Archer is. Last year, he ran for just over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, over a 2,000 career rusher on 332 carries, 25 touchdowns on the ground in his career. And these two coaches have been at it for a long, long time. They know each other real well. They know each other's teams real well. Man, it's real tough to pick. I'm going to stick with the old alma mater and take Oak Hill.
I believe this is going to be a really good Oak Hill team this year. And like Michelle said earlier about Lapel Hamiltonites, toss up, give me the home team. I'll take Oak Hill too.
I'm going to take Eastern. I saw Josh Edwards coach his first football practice. I saw him coach his first game at age 19 or 20 when he was at Tri-Central. No one is happier to see what he has done going back to his alma mater at Eastern and through the years. And I've seen the pictures of his boys, and I've seen his weight room attendance through the summer. He's got some big boys, and they're not big fat boys. His son's going to be a junior, and he's going to be in the middle of that linebacking on that defense, and he's pretty good. He was good as a freshman. He was good last year, and he's going to be even better this year. I just think Eastern, I think physical strength, they can probably handle Oak Hill's physicality up front. I think the trenches are going to be key to that game. I would say whoever wins the trenches will definitely win the game. And I'm going to go ahead, and I know it's on the road, but Josh is really trying to build something special there, and that team's really confident after after.
Add this, Greg, is special teams has played a big part over the last few years with these two teams. Last year, a couple missed field goals, missed PATs. Could have kind of been the difference, especially last year. And then going back to 2 years ago, kickoff returns were big. Oak Hill scored on a fake reverse on a kickoff return, and that's how they scored their opening touchdown 2 years ago against Eastern. So special teams is going to be a huge key in this game on Friday. Both teams are really good at special teams.
Another game that really kind of probably a toss-up. Even last year when Eastbrook went 12-1, it was a 1-point win against Huntington North. Huntington North turned into a pretty good program here of late. The game is at Adamson Stadium. That obviously makes Eastbrook the favorite. Grant, does Eastbrook win this one?
Yeah, and the reason they do is because you just said it. You just said Adamson. If Jeff Adamson's controlling that football team and his staff, who's been with him for almost 40 years coaching that team there, I like their chances. Huntington North, a solid 5A program. They just moved up. Eastbrook just moved up to 3A, but kind of a youthful Eastbrook team, but I expect Jeff Adamson will have him ready Friday night. I'm picking the Panthers.
Oh, man, this is so tough.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, and it's because Bodie Howe did so much for that team last year, and I know I've covered teams like that in the past, and it's hard sometimes to replace that, especially with a team like Huntington North. If they've returned very much, Huntington North.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eastbrook because of Jeff Adamson, but that's another one that's just really a toss-up. A game that's not a toss-up is Jay County at Blackford. I'll just go ahead and take Jay County, Grant.
Yeah, I'm going to take Jay County as well.
I really hope Blackford football recovers one day.
Hey, yeah, this will be a snoozer.
Elwood at Southern Wells, an interesting one. Elwood's won the last couple of years, but almost didn't have a team. We're still not completely sure what's going on with the Elwood program. Southern Wells seemed to get better over last year.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of uncertainty here. Just from historically, I know that both programs have struggled, but if you were to measure by the last 2 years, Elwood's just a little bit better than Southern Wells. I'm gonna pick the underdog, probably the underdog here, and take Elwood.
I'm taking Southern Wells, and here's why. Jace Reese, Elwood quarterback at Madison-Grant. Blaze Jones not playing football this year. And those are two of their.
AJ Flanagan.
And AJ Flanagan wasn't there last year either. But still,
that could be a pretty good football team.
They do have Connor Wooten and Matt Lobb up front, but it's not enough. And those have been outscoring games. Elwood, I feel sorry for Sammy. Having to get a brand new guy behind center is just really tough.
I will say this. They only had 17 kids when I was out there one day, but they did look like football players, a lot of them. So I think there's a chance they could have some success, but they're up against a huge issue here with lack of numbers, and I will take Southern Wells. Alexandria at Greenfield-Central. Last year, I think you probably take Alexandria in this one. They lost an awful lot of talent.
A lot of teams are going through some turnover here where they graduated a lot from 2025 a year ago, and kind of tough to get a gauge early on here in the season. Now, in a few weeks when we do this, we'll have a better gauge and kind of know what we're talking about a little bit here. And I'm going to pick Greenfield-Central.
We know what we're talking about all the time, Grant. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to still pick Greenfield-Central, though. It's on the road down there. Probably bigger athletes, probably a bigger offensive and defensive line at Greenfield-Central, maybe a little bit stronger than Alexandria. I'm going to stick with the Cougars.
I'm going to take Greenfield-Central, although I did see Greg Harp over the summer, and he did say Alexandria, he thought defensively they would be all right, that their offense would take a little bit because of replacing what they have to replace. And when you replace that production, that 4 years, it's just really hard. Week one, especially when you're on the road at a bigger school.
Yeah. Unless Alexandria is going to be a lot better than I expect them to be, Greenfield-Central is my pick. Bellmont at Madison-Grant. Bellmont, of course, has not won a game in a long time. I don't expect it to be this week either, even if Madison-Grant's not quite as good as they've been the last couple of years.
I think Madison-Grant gets this one done. You mentioned Bellmont has struggled over the last few years. I think they've lost almost 50 games in a row. Madison-Grant is going to be a young team here, but they've been in the program, or, these kids have kind of watched the guys before them. They've had some solid seasons the last few years. But Bellmont is coming in, a new coach, Blake Blaker, one of the all-time great names in high school football coaching here. We'll see if he's got the troops ready. But I'm going to stick with Madison-Grant. I think they start the season 1-0.
Madison-Grant, Bellmont came so close to canceling its football season last year. And I know you get newness, but it's still those pieces. And they haven't won in so long. They haven't had success. You have to change that culture, and they're not doing it against Madison-Grant, who has developed, we expect to win culture. So Madison-Grant.
And they should expect to win. They're going to be a good team. Just not quite sure they're as good as the last couple of years. We'll see. They might be. If everything comes together, they might be really good. And then a series that has become lopsided over the last couple of years. Two programs that have had success over the years, but right now seem to be at two different places. Norwell is at Mississinewa. Mississinewa won 35-0 the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I think they're going to win again this year. They've got a really good head coach, young head coach in Jeremy Lochner. They've got a great offensive line. They return all 5 of their offensive line from last year, a sectional runner-up team that had a chance to beat Fort Wayne Bishop Lures last year. They are going to be a tough group up front on both sides of the football. They're going to be more physical. I like Mississinewa to win probably by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like Mississinewa to win too. I'm interested to find out who they've got to replace some of the speed from the Monday kids. But like you, Grant, I mean, they're just going to be so physical up front, especially early in the season. That's huge.
Yeah, it's a sweep. Mississinewa easy. And our final local game, Tri-Central at Wes-Del, another game that's kind of shrouded in mystery. Let's start with Michelle on this one.
It's really much mystery because Tri-Central played 2 varsity games last year in the JV schedule, and coach left and up in the air, but they do have enough kids. They did scrimmage on Saturday. Culver was supposed to come down to Tri-Central on Friday night, but they couldn't do it. So Tri-Central went to Culver, and they actually went, I believe, on Friday evening too, and went up there and played. But I think I'm going to say Wes-Del because Wes-Del was pretty competitive last year. Tri-Central, their kid, I do know this. I talked to Cam Heineman,
new athletic director.
I also did talk to Adam, not a whole lot about quarterback, but Cam told me this is a kid who's never played quarterback before. So that's just learning. And at this stage, Wes-Del, they had an assistant coach that left and came to Elwood, and I thought he really did a nice job. One of the reasons Elwood was better defensively, he's back at Wes-Del this year. So another reason I kind of think Elwood will probably lose. And I think with Wes-Del, having him back in the fold, even, they started their progress a couple years ago, but I say Wes-Del.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Wes-Del too. Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about both teams, but I'm
never
just
admit that, Grant.
Warriors.
Haven't I taught you to never admit that when you don't know?
Well,
and I have no idea, to be honest with you, but I do know that Wes-Del's pretty good at football from time to time, so give me the Warriors. And now we're back with the 10 best games in Central Indiana, not in our local coverage area, and it starts with the Central Indiana game of the week, and there's no doubt about what the game of the week is this week. Brownsburg, the defending state champion at Lawrence North, expected to have its best team ever, both ranked in the top 5, both considered state championship contenders, and this could determine who's number 1 in week 2.
This is, I think, the one that's, circled here on everybody's week 1 slate. Michelle mentioned that it's going to be televised. What channel is this game going to be on?
It's like local antenna. Greg Rakestraw's television thing, they do it, but it is going to be if you have capabilities for antenna. But it'll also be on their network, which I believe you can go online. I know I'm going to get the letters all confused.
ISC.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you can go in there, and it is going to be there too. And telling you what, if you're not going to game on Friday night, you just want to sit at home, sit in your comfortable seat, get your popcorn or your nachos. This is the game to turn on your TV.
And we kind of alluded to it at the start of the podcast, is that, these are probably the 2 best receivers going at it in the state, one of the best quarterbacks in the state for Brownsburg, one of the best running backs in the state at Lawrence North. The athletes on both these teams are just incredible. My heart wants to go with Lawrence North because of Monshun Sales, obviously going to Indiana. Brandon Sharp for Brownsburg, obviously going to Indiana. Monshun Sales is the number 1 receiver in the nation for a reason. But I'm still going to pick with the defending champs. I'm going to take Brownsburg. They're a well-oiled machine. So is Lawrence North, don't get me wrong. And the game being at Lawrence North makes me kind of question that. But Brownsburg is a team that, isn't going to beat themselves. They're not going to make hardly any mistakes. And so if they play mistake-free football, I like their chances. And I think they'll come out of the game on Friday 1-0, but we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that one.
I think it's going to be a shootout. Watch, I'll probably be wrong. It'll be a defensive battle, but I think it's just going to be fun. And, Monshun Sales and Brendan Sharp, they're going to be adversaries on Friday night, but I think they really are supportive of each other, and they must really be, because to choose IU, to go down there and want to be at IU together and go through that system together is pretty special. And I think it's going to be a heck of a game. And I do think it's going to be a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a 38-35 type game.
Guys, I tuned in to watch every Lawrence North game I could last year, and it started to check out Monsoon Sales, but it ended with to check out Zay Moore every week. He is the most fun running back to watch I've seen in a long time. Of course, headed to Purdue, a little undersized, but so much fun to watch. If you watch any Lawrence North games last year, you would say that Zay Moore was the best player on the field, and I love that guy. But Brownsburg, man, they are so good. And I'm going to take Brownsburg. I really want to take Lawrence North, and I think they might get him here, but I think Brownsburg's the best team in the state.
Oh, I do. Like I said, when I said 38-35, that's Brownsburg on top. In my opinion, Brownsburg is number one in the state till they get beat. And I almost think they have to get beat twice this year before I would say they're not the best team. I just think that they just have so much talent and athletes. And if there's a team that can match up athletically and be able to help guard, to cover Monsoon Sales, it's going to be Brownsburg.
So it's a sweep, even though we all three really think it could go either way.
Yes.
And the big game in Hamilton County, and another state championship contender in Carmel, another dark horse contender in Fishers, a program that seems to be on the edge of contention the last couple of years. Last year, Carmel surprisingly won this game by 25 points, announcing themselves as a state championship contender. And of course, they were in the top 3 all year. Carmel leads the all-time series 7-1, and this should be a great game. Michelle, you have some inside knowledge on the Greyhounds, so why don't you start on this?
Carmel announced themselves, and they did it because of Anthony Colner, who became Carmel's all-time leading passer. And when you think to that and you realize that that's where Mark Herman graduated from, that's pretty great accomplishment. Anthony is now a freshman at Boston College. Little bro, though, I think is getting even more heavily recruited than Anthony. Now, he plays on the defensive side of the ball, and he is one of the top safeties in the state of Indiana, and
I think safeties in the
country. That's what I didn't really say. I think he's inside that top 50 in the country. Oklahoma, Michigan. I mean, he's taking visits everywhere. He's just a junior, folks.
What are they going to do at quarterback,
though? Here's the thing. I would say that, but Kevin Wright has just had success, and that's why I was going to say. I think people forget that Kevin Wright came back and coached Carmel last year. Might not be expecting it. But Kevin Wright wins. Wherever he goes at the high school level, he wins. And he'll have a replacement. When you're at Carmel and you have over between 4 or almost 5,000 student enrollment, you're going to find a quarterback.
Carmel, I mean, just right off the bat here.
Yeah.
I like them. Just like Michelle said, Kevin Wright, he wins, man. Google him. He wins.
That's right. If you weren't convinced by Kevin Wright before last year, you are now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I just they're going to be a well-oiled machine. Again, like Michelle just said, when you have 5,000 kids, I guarantee you can find 11 in that school that can play football at the highest level. But I mean, the same can be said for Fishers too. It's the same deal. And Kurt Funk was a great coach at Mississinewa for a long time, and he's been at Fishers for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I really like Carmel, though, in that opening game. I think they'll start the year 1-0.
Hey, Grant, don't you think I'm excited because now with Carmel coming back and Center Grove being back in that conference, I mean, that's going to be a meat grinder conference every week. It's the best conference in the state of Indiana.
That's right. We'll have another game coming up too.
Yeah. And when you pair that with the HHC or the HCC, there's so much parity between those two leagues there, and I'm really looking forward to see. I mean, there may not be an undefeated team in 6A this year. Whoever wins the state championship may not go undefeated, and there's just so much depth in Class 6A, and certainly circling the Carmel Center Grove matchup coming up on September 4th in just 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a Carmel sweep. Let's move to Class 5A, although probably not for long. Illinois 5A state champion Wheaton St. Francis at New Palestine. The Indiana 5A state champion, but this is a big, big one against another state champion, Grant.
Yeah, I'm going to take New Pal here just because I'm biased. I'm going to pick the Indiana team if they're playing the out of state. Now, when you ask me the question of when they're playing IMG Academy later this year, which is happening, by the way, you just want people to know that they are going to play each other here later this season, I think in October. I'm going to pick the team from Indiana. I'm going to take New Pal. Kyle Ralph is an incredible coach. Probably could etch himself into the conversation of the greatest of all time. Obviously, he hasn't won as many games as guys like Bud Wright or Reed May at Brownsburg or Jeff Adamson or those guys, but he's won championships. This is a championship program, and New Pal's going to start the year strong, taking out the Illinois state champions, Wheaton St. Francis. And New Pal has really beefed that schedule up, Greg. I mean, they are just that schedule's loaded here, like with Wheaton St. Francis and East Central next week, and their conference is kind of, their conference is what it is. But then later in the year, they play Ron Colley, and then they play IMG Academy. This is such a good tune-up game to start the year.
Great. You kind of touched on what I was going to open up with. I was going to say Kyle Ralph really knows he's probably going to be moving up to 6A very soon. So what he wants to do is beef up that schedule, because when that team moves up, and I mean they've already moved up, and they're 5A, you want to play the best that you can. So you're going to add some games that give you that competitive level, because truthfully his conference does not for strong 5A if they end up at 6A. But I was going to say Kyle Ralph is kind of like a Signetti type guy. I mean, his team's confident. They do the little things right, a lot of discipline, a lot of confidence, and the man just wins. So
agreed. Give me New Pal. And probably the biggest contender in Class 5A to New Pal is Decatur Central. They're at home against another one of those HCC teams, Avon. It's had a renaissance the last few years. Last year, Decatur Central started 0-2, including a 30-28 overtime loss to Avon, then won 9 games in a row before eventually losing to New Pal. So, 7 o'clock at Decatur Central. Grant, Avon at Decatur Central. Who you got?
Yeah, well, if you guys remember last year, I hated Avon, and I'm going to hate him this year, so I'm picking Decatur Central.
I'm going to take Decatur Central, too. I think Avon shocked some people last year. They're not going to do that this year. Decatur Central.
Those fans have no idea what they've done to Grant Shouse and his picks against Avon.
They absolutely ruined my dinner at the Cheesecake Factory one night. It can't be forgiven.
I wish I was a fly on the wall that day.
Oh my gosh, it was embarrassing. I got secondhand embarrassment watching these people.
We are at a game of 2 Indiana State powers. Warren Central at Center Grove. Wasn't quite the same last year, but a couple of years ago, this was a huge game, and it's another one again this year. Center Grove coming off a 10-2 year. Warren Central 6-4. Grant.
I like Center Grove here. The game's at Center Grove. This is the team that's coached like a college football team. Again, they have another one of the all-time great coaches in the state's history, Eric Moore. He's going to lead them to victory Friday night. I really like Center Grove to come out of that one against Warren Central.
Warren Central was probably the best 6-4 team in the state last year, by the way. They're really good. They've got some good D1 talent, some guys going to D1 schools. So does Center Grove. I think this is going to be great. I'm like you, Grant. I'm taking Center Grove because they are at home. And this is I don't know that this will be the shootout necessarily that I said that Lawrence North and Brownsburg would be. But I do think it's going to be about a 1-score game, final margin.
I agree with that, but give me Warren Central, the number 5 Warriors over the number 4 Trojans. Then we go to number 2 Westfield at Homestead. Grant, should be a pretty easy win for Westfield.
Yeah, I think so. Westfield is certainly disappointed with how the last two seasons have ended, losing two heartbreakers in the state championship, both to Brownsburg. I'm sure they're on a revenge tour this year, and I think that revenge tour starts with a win on Friday. I'll take the Shamrocks to travel up to Fort Wayne and take down the Spartans at Homestead.
Yep, I agree. Westfield's going to go up there. It's not going to be close, and they're going to come back 1-0.
Yeah, Westfield's another one of those definite state championship contenders. Give me Westfield. A game that definitely a toss-up. Pendleton Heights coming off a 10-2 season. Lebanon coming off a 10-3 season and their first sectional championship in, I can't remember now, 30 years or something like that. Two really good programs at this point with two really good coaches. And last year, Pendleton Heights won 22-14. Grant.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Lebanon here at home. I'll give the edge to the home team. These are two solid programs. It's kind of an interesting matchup. I believe these two teams are going to be in the same conference next season, if I'm not mistaken, or in a couple of years. So I'll take Lebanon just because they're at home. But wouldn't be shocked if Hamilton Heights, or not Hamilton Heights, Pendleton Heights didn't win the game. But I'm just going to stick with the Lebanon Tigers for now.
Grant, I'm going to agree with you again. That game is being played at Lebanon. I'm going to go with Lebanon. Pendleton Heights had a nice run, but so did Lebanon last year. And I think Pendleton Heights may have lost a little bit more than what Lebanon did. So I'll take the Tigers since they're home.
Pendleton Heights did lose a lot, but you know what they didn't lose? Jed Richmond. Give me Pendleton Heights. Cathedral at Ben Davis, another clash of two great Indiana programs. Of course, two different classes. Last year, Cathedral 7-4, Ben Davis 3-7, and Cathedral beat Ben Davis 8-0 in week one. After struggling the year before, that said to us that Cathedral and New Pal were going to play each other for what turned out to be the state championship, and that was right. Can Cathedral beat Ben Davis again, this time at Ben Davis, Grant?
Yeah, I think they will. I'll take Cathedral. These are really two good programs, and this is a fun time of year because you get matchups like these where these power programs out of conference here in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Makes things really interesting, makes things fun. But I'm gonna take Cathedral here to go over to Ben Davis. Ben Davis was 3-7 last year. Cathedral is a solid program, but I'll take the Irish to beat the Giants.
I mean, look at it. I mean, Ben Davis was such a football powerhouse. I'll tell you what, I'm taking Cathedral too, and I don't think it's going to be 8-0. Cathedral's offense took a while to get started last year. Ben Davis really never found their offense. I think Cathedral's going to be better offensively to start the season than what they were a year ago. So it's going to be two or more scores. I'll take Cathedral.
Give me Ben Davis at home. And a really big game, a really big rivalry. Western Boone coming off an 11-3 season. Tri-West coming off a 7-4 season. Western Boone won this game last year at 35-7, but Tri-West has a ton coming back. A lot of expectations for a great program. Two great programs. Grant, who you taking, Western Boone or Tri-West?
Oh, man, this is tough. Put me on the spot. I originally put Western Boone, but I'm going to change it up. I'm going to take Tri-West to take down the Western Boone Stars and get off to a 1-0 start.
Of course, Michelle, Tri-West ranked 6th, so I think the media sees it as well that this is going to be a good Tri-West.
Yeah, Western Boone's bumping up. The thing is, you have to be careful because when Justin Pelley, when the West in his turn at Western Boone as a coach, when they're overlooked is when they've have played some of their best football. But I do believe Tri-West is going to open the season with a win over instead of shooting stars shooting up, they're going to be the falling stars coming home.
And I agree. It is a sweep for Tri-West. And our last game, we picked this one over probably some actual better games, but it's my podcast and I really like Western. So we went with Western and Indian Creek. Very interesting series. Last year, Indian Creek won 20-13, extending Western's losing streak to 14 games. And then the next week, Western beat North Montgomery and then beat Indianapolis Lutheran by 32 points. So the Western comeback was complete. They ended up going 8-4 and making it to the sectional championship game. Indian Creek, always good, was 8-4 last year after beating Western. Grant, Western at Indian Creek, who you taking?
I really want to pick Western here, but I'm going to take Indian Creek instead. Traveling down there and playing against maybe a little bit of a bigger school in Indian Creek could be interesting. But right now I'm going to rock with Indian Creek to take down the Panthers week 1. But I expect Western to be an improved team this year, and I probably won't be picking against them a lot this season unless, things don't go their way.
I'm taking Indian Creek because Western graduated a lot of their beef last year. They had some big boys up front. If I'm not mistaken, they graduated them. Doesn't mean they can't be replaced, but I think when it's week 1 and you have a long road trip, it favors the home team, especially if you get new players filling in. I will say this: I thought that Western coming close to Indian Creek last year was an indication that they were going to have a much better season a year ago than they did the previous year.
And they clearly have the right coach. And I'm taking the Western Panthers and Austin Colby. I think it's going to be a nice year for Western. Guys, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. Final thoughts, Grant?
Yeah, I'm really excited here to start the season. This is one of my absolute favorite parts of the year is football season, and when you sit back and really analyze it, I mean, you think about it. As a broadcaster, you maybe only get 12 football games a year, right? And then, of course, the cultural phenomenon it's taken on here, especially in the last few years in Indiana. Indiana is slowly becoming a football state. It is always going to be known for its basketball heritage, but the football right now is the best it's ever been with high school. And then, of course, college football, you're home to the defending national champions. And then this one school up north thinks they're pretty cool too. And historically they have been. But high school football has been amazing. I'm really excited it's back. And then college football's back next week with week 0. But my favorite part is putting the preparation together and getting information together. And then you send me this stuff over. It really helps for, talking about stuff on the podcast. I'm looking forward to doing this with you guys every week.
Thanks, Grant. I enjoy our high school football. It's really fun. I know we don't get it done as much in basketball. It's just too hard with all the games throughout the week. Football is great because it's on a weekend and
very predictable.
Once a week, But I will say this, Grant, I agree with you. I think Indiana is becoming a football state. And I will say this, Mr. McClellan, your new AD at Purdue, Monchel and Sills and Brendan Sharp, they want to be national champions, so they are going to the national champions, Indiana University. And I don't believe, I know Purdue didn't make Monchel Hill's top 10 list. Maybe Brandon Sharp, maybe because,
he probably felt bad for him.
Yeah, that, and I mean, he was. People knew he was, but it was really last year that he really upped the level to where he was going to be recruited by the Indianas and Ohio States. And I say that with Indianas now because it seems so weird because, Grant, I would have never, ever dreamed this when I was your age that I would be saying that.
It's so surreal.
I wouldn't have dreamed it, 2 years ago at this time.
That's right.
So
thanks, everyone, for listening. And everybody, don't forget to boil her up. Hey, Susie, the Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.